There's never a good time for a team to get bad news, but what just landed on Joe Gibbs Racing's plate couldn't have come at a worse moment in the season. Christopher Bell walked away from his car at Michigan with his wrist wrapped up, and now we know exactly why. The driver of the number 20 Toyota has a broken wrist, and even with that injury, he's going to climb back into the car this Sunday at Pocono. That tells you everything you need to know about how worried Joe Gibbs Racing really is right now. Let me back up and walk you through what happened, because this story keeps getting bigger. On Sunday, Bell was running second behind William Byron in the FireKeepers Casino 400 at Michigan International Speedway. He was side by side with Chase Elliott, fighting for that second-place spot. Then, on lap 148, everything fell apart. Coming off a restart, Elliott's number 9, Chevy, got loose on the inside. He tried to save it, but the car shot straight up the racetrack and slammed right into the side of Bell's car. Bell had nowhere to go. His Toyota hit the outside wall in turns 3 and 4 at a brutal angle and a very high speed. The hit was so hard, it actually bent the first layer of the safer barrier, the soft wall built to protect drivers. NASCAR had to bring out welding equipment to fix it. The race was stopped under a red flag for over 20 minutes while crews patched up the wall. Both cars were destroyed. Somehow, both drivers climbed out on their own. The reactions told the whole story. Bubba Wallace was running right behind the crash and saw the whole thing happen. Over his team radio, you could hear him say, "Please tell me that guy is all right." A few seconds later, he added, "That was the scariest hit I've ever seen." Bell's spotter, Stevie Reeves, sounded shaken up too, checking in over and over to make sure his driver was okay before finally being able to confirm that Bell was climbing out of the car. Here's the part that really shows how bad this was. NASCAR later confirmed something pretty stunning. They said they couldn't share the exact number because that data belongs to Bell and Joe Gibbs Racing, but the Delta V, which is basically how fast Bell's body went from full speed to a near stop, was the largest number they've ever recorded in the next-gen era. That makes this one of the hardest hits in modern NASCAR history. After the race, team owner Joe Gibbs talked to reporters and gave the first hint that things weren't great. He said, "I think it was his wrist and his ankle. We're just going to have to wait and see." Bell didn't speak to the media. A photo started going around online showing him boarding the team plane with his wrist already wrapped up. That photo said more than any interview could have. Then on Tuesday evening, Joe Gibbs Racing put out the official update everyone was waiting for. In their statement, the team said, Christopher Bell suffered a fractured left wrist after an accident on lap 148 of Sunday's NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway. They went on. After being evaluated and released from the infield care center, Bell returned home to North Carolina where X-rays confirmed the fracture. Bell has been cleared and will be behind the wheel of number 20 Toyota Camry XSE this weekend at Pocono Raceway. Bell himself took to social media to thank everyone. He wrote, "Thank you to each and every one who reached out to check on me. I truly feel the love." He continued, "I'm grateful for my team of doctors, JGR, NASCAR, and all of the previous drivers who have helped pave the way for the safety standards in our sport. See you in Pocono." Chase Elliott didn't try to hide from any of it. He took full blame for the wreck. Elliott said, "It was totally my fault. It was nothing intentional. That's a class move, but it doesn't change what happened to Bell." Now, here's where it becomes a huge problem for Joe Gibbs Racing. Before the crash, Bell was sitting 7th in the point standings. After the DNF at Michigan, he dropped 3 spots all the way to 10th. He's now 259 points behind the leader, Tyler Reddick. And here's the part that should worry every Joe Gibbs Racing fan. Bell is only 78 points above the chase cut line. That cushion sounds okay on paper, but it isn't as safe as it sounds. And the reason has everything to do with NASCAR's new playoff format. In years past, if a driver won a race, that win basically locked them into the playoffs no matter what. So even if a driver got hurt and missed a few races, one early win was a safety net. That rule is gone. This season, the top 16 drivers in the point standings make 10 race chase at the end of the regular season. Wins don't lock you in anymore. That means every single race counts. If Bell can't race at full speed or worse, has to sit out a race, that 78-point cushion could disappear fast. And here's the part that makes this even more frustrating. Bell has actually been one of the fastest drivers all season long. He's led 398 laps in 2026, which is 3 more than the points leader Tyler Reddick. He sits third in laps, led behind only Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson. He has 5 top 5 finishes, 6 top 10s, and 100 stage points. He should have been higher in the standings, but 3 DNFs and a string of bad luck have cost him over and over. So now you have a driver who's been one of the strongest on the track, dealing with a broken wrist, racing under a system that punishes any missed time. That's why this is such a tough spot for Joe Gibbs Racing. Let's talk a little about Bell himself for context. He's 31 years old from Oklahoma. This is his 7th season in the Cup Series and his 6th driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. He's known as one of the most consistent championship contenders in the sport. He's finished inside the top 5 in the standings in each of the past 4 seasons. He won a Truck Series championship back in 2017 driving for Kyle Busch Motorsports. He hasn't won a Cup race since Bristol last September, but he's been knocking on the door all year. This weekend's race is the Great American Getaway 400 at Pocono Raceway, the track everyone calls the Tricky Triangle because of its 3 different corners that all behave differently. Bell has decent history there. In 8 career starts at Pocono, he's got 2 top 5s and 3 top 10s. His best finish is 4th, and he's done that twice, once in 2020 and again in 2022. It's not a track he's dominated, but it's not a track that gives him trouble either. Still, racing with a broken wrist at a place called the Tricky Triangle is no small thing. Steering, shifting, and reacting to a problem all become harder when your wrist is fractured. And remember, this is the same wrist that has to muscle a Cup car through corners for 400 miles. There is one bright side in all of this. The fact that Bell walked away from a hit that big, climbed out of his car under his own power, and is set to race the next weekend is a real win for NASCAR safety. The safer barrier did its job, even if it took a hit. Bell himself mentioned all the drivers who came before him who pushed for these safety changes. That's the only reason a story like this ends with a fractured wrist, and not something much worse. But the problem for Joe Gibbs Racing is still very real. Their top championship contender is hurt. The playoff format gives them no room to breathe. Every race from here to the chase matters. And if that wrist doesn't heal quickly, or if Bell can't perform at his usual level, the whole season could slip away from a team that came into the year as one of the favorites. All eyes will be on the number 20 car at Pocono this Sunday.